All right, let's fire it up. Episode 9, because I'm fired up for this episode. I know he is fired up for this episode. He is Matt Maltepes. He is the animal. I am the Dan Mathews portion of Dan Mathews and the Animals. We got a lot of exciting action to get to in this episode. We have got Clemson, Florida State, as I've already got the graphic up if you're watching us on YouTube. Then we're going to be previewing the Colorado and Oregon game. Then we're going to go into Ole Miss, Alabama, and we will close it out talking about what many people are considering to be the game of an amazing weekend in college football. That is Ohio State at Notre Dame. As Matt, I know you and the entire crew, y'all are already hard at work on this weekend because probably in terms of the action, this is going to be probably the most paid attention to weekend of the entire college football slate that we've had to this point.
We're always working. We're constantly working. We never stop. I mean, the screen never sleeps. So we just keep on going. It's just a matter of what we do, and we do it among the best.
That's for sure. No doubt about it. The college kids, the whole crew that are part of the group that work along with you all, and the Philly Godfather and everybody of the such. Follow them anywhere you can find them. And I'm telling you, you follow their picks, you're going to be winners. I can almost guarantee that for you. As we want to remind you all, too, to tell your friends about us, like and subscribe, do all those different types of things right here on the College Kids channel on YouTube. So spread the word, and also, too, let's give out some winners. Let's start first with the game that's going to get the whole slate started on Saturday in the upstate of South Carolina. It is number 4, Florida State, taking on Clemson. And I think a lot of people out there, Matt, are looking at this for Clemson as, is this a redemption game for Dabo and Cade Klubnik in this entire team? Now, the line was a lot larger. I think at one time I saw it at 3.5 for Florida State. I looked at it this morning before we recorded on this Thursday, and I'm seeing at least one shop has Florida State now down to a 2-point favorite in this one. The over-under is 55 and a hook. How are you seeing this one breaking down?
So rotation 335, 336 on your sports betting screen. The price of this matchup actually opened pick'em offshore in the States, and then we saw a couple point adjustment as you just talked about in the Seminoles' favor. As of right now, 80% of the tickets placed and 90% of the money from what I've heard from the bookmakers I've talked to are on Norvell's team. Total paid at 55 across the board. When we look at what we bet on this game, it was the over 55, and I'll tell you why a little bit. Both offenses are stacked and can score quickly. Clemson put up 114 points in their last 2 games. And if you go back to the Duke game, where they laid an egg and only scored 7 points, I mean, they had plenty of opportunities. They racked up over 400 yards. They could have scored a lot more points in that one. But again, what was the issue? As I talk about in every single podcast, turnovers. So that was the big issue there. Hindered their scoring opportunities. On the other hand, though, Florida State, obviously they showed their ability to score and put up points on everyone. And they're not taking their foot off the gas pedal in terms of scoring. Offense right now averaging 7.2 yards per play, which is ranked 16th best in the nation, which is damn good. 22 spots better than Georgia. The same with Michigan, and only 0.2 yards per play less than Ohio State. So when we look at the defense now for Florida State, it's underperformed a bit, ranking 184th in the nation, 84th in the nation in opponent yards per play. It's not a good sign. So I went over here 55. As for the side, I mean, when we look at Clemson, Tigers are 19-1 straight up in their last 20 home games. They've dominated Florida State for a little bit now. And, Florida State a little banged up coming into this one. Total win over, by the way, historical trend real quick. Total win over in 5 of Clemson's last 6 games against Florida State. So that's just a little FYI. But the current number of 2.5, I don't know, man. It's a pass on the side. I can only take this game if it goes to 3, and I'll be taking Clemson. But specifically, if it gets to 3.5, I'll be putting real money on Clemson.
Oh, fair enough. So we'll see if indeed it does swing back to Florida State's favor in that regard, because it does seem like, at least from that side of it, Matt, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, all right, the Sharps are going on Clemson on this one. That's what's driving that number down in terms of the favoritism towards Florida State. But, I mean, you see that 2 number on the road. You see a Florida State team that is probably chomping at the bit to be able to bounce back from that really tough performance against Boston College. They get out of there with a win, a close win. We'll see if Florida State is able to get things going in the right direction for this one. You like the over in this one, the over number at 55 and a hook, at least from what I saw. I know that you've seen some 55s out there, but the over nonetheless looking like a smart play for this one. All right, Deion Sanders' team heading up to Oregon for a Pac-12 matchup against the Ducks. And boy, they are really huge on the Ducks, they being the bettors already, as we're seeing the Ducks come in here, Matt, as a 21-point favorite for this one. Now, if you want to try to lay some money line money, it's not smart on Oregon. They are a massive favorite in this one. I can't remember what the exact line was. I do know for Colorado, they're basically telling you, yeah, you can put some money on Colorado, but we're not in the business of huge payouts here. And they are really telling you Colorado ain't winning this game because they are a plus 650 on the money line. And then the over-under for this one is 70. How do you see this one shaking out?
So open actually Oregon minus 17 and moved all the way to 21. Total open 72.5, currently sits at 70.5. I mean, Colorado, they've outperformed expectations, right? For the first couple of weeks. We saw their win total adjust to 6.5. This week's going to be a challenge, man. You're not versing any normal quarterback. You're going up against Bo Nix. The guy just put up 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year. When we look at Colorado, I mean, the loss of Travis Hunter not only affects this Colorado team on defense, but also on offense. He has a huge impact that outweighs others tenfold. He's a two-way player. Hurts even more when you're versing a Ducks team that through the first 3 weeks, I mean, they have the second largest and highest margin of victory in the nation. So a team that's outperforming the market, they went 3-0 against the spread so far, they're ranked 7th in it against the spread plus minus. Sorry about that. I'm not the biggest fan of touching teams that are laying a huge number unless I feel the number is seriously off. And that's because of the possibility of a backdoor cover. With such a high total, this game should be a scoring fest, should be entertaining. And I love to watch the Colorado team as much as the next guy. But in terms of putting my money on it, I stood off the game. I'm just here to watch the game and see how it plays out.
All right, so also remember for this one too, Colorado going to be without Travis Hunter, who is by far a outstanding two-way player for them, probably their best all-around player on the team. I know people are looking at Shedeur Sanders, and for good reasons, but for what Hunter has been able to give them both on the offensive and defensive end, he has been an absolute difference maker for that Colorado team. So not having him for this one, that definitely hurts. Let's go to the SEC. We're kind of bouncing around this week. I mean, I think this is the first show, Matt, that we've done that we haven't been pretty much SEC heavy for this one. And we're going one from every major conference almost in this episode. I guess, the Pac-12 is not going to exist next year, but at least they're going to have some good football this year. They got that going for them. But an SEC battle that's going to be happening in Tuscaloosa. A lot of people looking at this one for Nick Saban's crew as kind of all right, get back on track, show everybody you're good, show everybody you're still very much in this thing with Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team, number 15 in the country coming in. Bama, a 7-point favorite for this one. Ole Miss on the money line getting 215. Then the over-under for this game in Tuscaloosa is also 55 and a hook.
Yeah, Kirk Price in a matchup, 6.5, even though a couple offshore books moved to 7 minus 105 on Alabama. Total floating around 55-ish area, 55.5. Milroe is back in the lineup, quarterback for Alabama. So I think this week we're going to see a little uptick in their offense. It's going to rise a little bit, a little more efficient because we saw what happened last week with South Florida. I think Alabama's offense is better than Tulane's and Georgia Tech's, and they put up 20 and 23 points against Mississippi. So I think we're going to see some points on the board here from both teams. Ole Miss ranked number 10 in the offense in the nation in yards per play. So I went over the posted total of 55. I mean, it seemed a little low to me. So I went over. We saw Alabama struggle last week. So that kind of concerns me. And I'm not a fan of putting my money on a team I'm concerned with. So I stood off the side, but we did go over 55.
All All right, over for this one as well. The over playing in both the Florida State Clemson game and also in this one as well. Again, Bama a 7-point favorite for this one, and I kind of share the same concerns with Bama in this one as well, where I think you've seen an improved passing attack from Lane Kiffin's team. Quinshawn Judkins not quite as productive as he was last season. But for this one as well, I mean, Alabama, you heard Nick Saban earlier in the week say that Jalen Milroe is his quarterback, going to go with him. I believe he even said for the long haul here because he used the game last week against South Florida. And I do agree with what most people said about that game where they said, I think that Nick Saban knew they were going to win the game. He didn't necessarily care about the result. He just wanted to see, all right, do I have something with Tyler Buckner? Do I have something with Ty Simpson? He realized he doesn't. So Jalen Milroe is his quarterback, and that is his best option to be able to not only get to Atlanta, but be able to try to run the table and find themselves in the college football playoff when it's all said and done. Let's close it out with the game of the weekend. That is Ohio State at Notre Dame. They opened the season last year, and now we had to wait a few weeks to be able to get this one. First true test for Ohio State this season, as they have gone up against not the stiffest of competition so far to this point. They took on Indiana in week one. I'm trying to remember who, Youngstown State in
In
week
Western
two.
Kentucky.
Last week, Western Kentucky. Last week, by far, their best performance of the season. I think you probably saw a little bit more of their offense and a little bit more explosiveness out of said offense in that 49-10 win over Western Kentucky. But for this one, the Buckeyes giving 3 points in this one. Notre Dame on the money line is plus 125 as the underdogs. And the over-under again, what do you know? 55 and a hook.
Yeah, so Ohio State open -3, as you just said. And total open 54 is up to 55.5. We actually went over 54 here early. Both teams ranked top 10 in yards per play this year. They were both top 30 last year, with Ohio State ranking #1 in the nation. These teams haven't played the best competition, as you just pointed out, but Notre Dame has versed teams that were solid in the opponent yards per play metrics, such as NC State last year. And they hung up 45 on them this year. So the same goes for Ohio State, Western Kentucky. They were ranked 40th in opponent yards per play last year, and they hung up 63 points last week. Through 3 to 4 weeks so far in the season, both teams ranked top 10 in points per game. However, when we look at Notre Dame's defense, they rank 78th in opponent yards per completion, which is a cause for concern, especially when you're going up against Kyle McCord on the other side. He has 2 games already with 3 touchdowns, 87.2 QBR, 70% completion rate. And all the while, he's closing in on 1,000 yards, only needing 200 more. So we went over here 54 early, small, and we didn't touch the side yet. We may be touching it later. We'll see. Things marinate, things progress. I make a couple calls. So stay tuned for us on Twitter at TCK_experience to find out the gold. But yeah, we went over 54 here early.
Yeah, and thanks for the correction, too. Yes, it was a final of 63-10 in that one. I don't know where 49 came from, but regardless, who cares? But the overs are the play this week. As, again, just to recap here of the games that we have this weekend, you like the over in Florida State, Clemson. You like the over in Ole Miss, Alabama, and the same goes for this one as well. In South Bend, going to be a lot of fun. That Colorado game, I mean, like we said, and like you said, if you want to play it, yes, go with it. I mean, that over is pretty high. And then also, too, covering huge numbers, conference games. But, it's also, too, I mean, I personally look at that 21 and I say, I think that's pretty much a shoo-in. I think that the nice story that has been the Colorado Buffaloes with Deion Sanders so far to this point, I mean, if you have Travis Hunter out there, maybe it's a possibility to be able to keep it under that 21. I think him not being out there, just the amount of athletes that Oregon has as opposed to Colorado, that's for me one that I look at and I really like. So we'll see how that plays out this weekend. All right, so you got the action ready for you. Go out there, make you some money this weekend. Of course, you know how we do things around here. Tuesday, we come back, we recap. Next week, we will come back and get you ready for the final weekend of September. in college football. The opening month already coming to a close. Matt, why do they do this to us every single year? Football season, it gets here, and then all of a sudden it starts to get a little cooler outside, then it gets cold outside, and we're kind of like, wait a minute, we're to bowl season already? Like, why do they do this to us?
It goes by quick, man. It goes by quick. But hey, just take it in every week. We got football. Just be happy, you know? Football, it's king. Football is king.
That is the wise words of Matt Maltepes, the animal. I'm Dan Mathews. This has been episode 9 of Dan Mathews and the Animals. Enjoy it here on YouTube. Like I said, like and subscribe. Also, to the podcast version is available for you as well. So, again, please tell your friends about the show. Appreciate the time. Always great to talk with you all out there. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. Matt, appreciate it as always, buddy. And we will catch up here very soon.